right, Big Tony back here with another episode of Abnormalities. As always, here with my co-host Chris.
They just listed you as Christopher F. Caleb.
Yeah, I'm multifaceted. I can play any part.
You think so?
I can do it all.
Give me a good Chris Caleb. Give me a good impression of me. Let's see this.
The sky is falling. That's funny. Get it? Things are always wrong. So yeah. So what are we talking about this episode?
You tell.
Huh?
You tell me.
Urban legends. We've had a few people asking us about urban legends, and we're going to talk a little bit about urban legends.
We can do that. I mean, what would you like to start with?
You know, what's your favorite urban legend?
Well, my favorite. There's a couple of them. So.
If I say what's your favorite, you can't have two.
Yeah, you can.
Who's your favorite wife?
I've had a couple.
Rick, can we send a copy of that and just text that over to Ricky? You're so getting punched in the throat.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
Yeah. So
I think my absolute favorite would be Bloody Mary.
And why Bloody Mary? Give us some background. Tell us a little bit about Bloody Mary.
Well, how about you? Do you know anything about Bloody Mary? Do you know
a little bit?
What do you know about Bloody Mary?
A little bit about the whole idea that this woman's lost soul got stuck in a mirror, and if you go up to a mirror with the lights out or a candle burning, it just depends on which story you're hearing, that you can go up into the mirror and say Bloody Mary 3 times, and she sucks you into the mirror.
She doesn't suck you into the mirror.
Well, takes you. Well, which
comes out the mirror, grudge status, hair down, all nasty looking, rips your eyeballs out of your face.
Well, that's taking something back, right? There's different variations of the same story.
Yeah, there's several variations.
Was that she takes your soul into the mirror with her?
Well, the story is originated from like 9 or 10 different points, but the idea behind it is a young woman who loses her child or the person she loves ends up dying in front of a mirror. Soul gets trapped in the mirror. You can summon her via the mirror by bringing either a doll or a candle into the bathroom, saying her name 3 times. She comes out. And
you've got a story about this, I'm assuming?
I have a couple.
Well, is there any that we can appropriately talk about?
Yeah, one of the coolest ones, well, not cool, but one of the ones that kind of shook me when I was a kid, my older brother went into a bathroom with one of my sister's baby dolls and a candle, shut the door, turned the lights off, and did the Bloody Mary 3 times in the mirror.
Okay.
Obviously,
you have to take a baby doll with you?
In some variations.
In your story?
In our story, it's part of the summoning of her.
Oh, okay.
Because in the particular story that I heard when I was a kid, she had lost her child. Okay. So the baby doll mocks the loss of the child, which really gets her aggravated to come out.
Yeah. And you know something that just occurred to me?
What?
Look how small you look with my boot. Can we go back to the other camera angle for a second? You look tiny with that big old boot. That's crazy.
Look at that.
Okay, so Bloody Mary. What's another favorite one?
Slender Man. You know a little bit about that guy.
I love Slender Man. I love the story. I mean, you see all those old pictures.
Right.
That you always say, oh, they're Photoshop, but you see all these old pictures where you have little kids like it's like black and white photos, like in the 1800s playing, and you see this big, tall, skinny dude in the background with no face and features.
You know what he does, though?
Watching. Yeah, if you see him, he takes you.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, it's just the thing is, if you see him and if you just are oblivious to him, then he just kind of leaves you alone. But the second you acknowledge him and you see him, he's like right there. I mean, you turn around and he's like right in your face. Boom, gone.
I think the scariest part about the Slender Man urban legend is that there's no exact way on how, like, what your fate is, because you just vanish.
And you go and you're gone.
Well, they used to say back in the day that a lot of the urban legends were told because somebody survived, somebody had made it through. And the cool thing they did when the Slender Man urban legend was made was nobody makes it through. If you see him, you die. Period.
So who would tell the story?
Old photos, things like that.
Yeah,
that's
old photos.
That's
some of those photos, I mean, they talk about Photoshop, and I know anything's possible these days, but there's some pretty creepy photos.
Well, there's, in a lot of old school lore, this is like Tibetan monk status, something called tulpa. Okay. And the idea of a tulpa is that you put enough of your mind's energy into one thought, into one thing. And if hundreds of thousands of people around the world are all putting their thought into this one particular thing, that this tulpa, this thing, can gain a life of its own. So in theory, any urban legend could become its own thing because of how much thought was put into that one particular subject.
Okay.
So Slender Man very, very well could be real because of the minds of human beings.
Could have been brought about just by a picture that looked kind of funny and looked like something was standing there.
Yeah, well,
we deal with that in paranormal research. I mean, you see things that you kind of see it, but you don't really, and the mind plays tricks on you, and your eyes see certain things.
Well, that's why you got to really keep open, especially in the field. I mean, if we're hunting Slender Man, you know what I mean? I'm going to suggest that we just don't do that.
Yeah, clearly, that's stupid. Why would we hunt Slender Man?
Yeah.
The whole premise is you see him, you're gone. I mean, the show would be short.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We'd be done.
It'd be us, then gone, and then Slender Man, and then.
And I'm curious. I really want to know where they go. I mean, how do we know it's not like, Disneyland or something, like an amusement park. He just takes you and you have fun. Slender Man's like
The
in charge.
screams that you hear generally don't indicate that
Well,
it's
we
going to be a
didn't
very
talk
fun
about
time.
the screams. What screams? How do you know? It's an old photo. How do you know the
So
screams?
with Slender Man, again, urban legend states that, first off, you never see him walk.
No.
He's not like creepy like Michael Myers. We turn him,
Appears.
he's walking. Yeah, he just poof appears, poof appears, poof appears, and he's got long black tentacles that grab you
Yeah.
and take
Which
you
you
into
don't
the.
always see, because depictions of him are always just a big, tall dude
Right.
with long arms.
But that's just another evolution of the urban legend of Slender Man, was the tentacles. But yeah, there's not really a whole lot of backstory on him outside of the fact that he just abducts people and.
Yeah,
that's
it's one
him.
that you don't really. It wasn't something that was prevalent when we were young, like
Oh,
Bloody
this
Mary.
is the
Bloody
last.
Mary and all those things have been around for generations.
Slender Man's last 5-10 years. That
it's
really
new.
took and caught
So
fire.
what do you think brought it about? What do you think was that thing that just kind of put over the top? And that thing just put over the top that you saw and that made people start thinking about it was just pictures?
For me, how the whole urban legend started was he was posted. There was a horror forum. I can't remember the exact name of it, but an author posted a short about Slender Man in this horror forum, and it took like wildfire. People would constantly add to it and evolve the urban legend. And over time, that's how all urban legends work, because even something as simple as Bloody Mary that we all know about, we've all heard at some point, has 9 million different versions of that particular story, because people are always adding to it, and the urban legend is always evolving. And with Slender Man, it's no different. I mean, there were 2 girls that were arrested for stabbing one of their classmates repeatedly, trying to summon Slender Man.
Yeah.
So
Which I've never heard that being part of the story. So what made them make that jump?
they assumed they heard in their head Slender Man like telling them to do this, and he would come to them.
Wow.
But I mean, that really shows the ignorance of people when you realize that if he comes for you, he comes to end you.
Yeah, you're
So,
done.
Yeah.
They were ready to be ended.
But that's the thing about what we do, and I think that's one of the coolest things about what we do is so much lore, so many cool stories. I mean, I'm going to kind of jump off topic of urban legends for a second and talk about something called the Old Hag. You know what that is?
I never heard of the Old Hag.
So there's these things in life called parasomnias. So parasomnias, night terrors, nightmares, sleep paralysis, things like that. They all fall under a category called parasomnias because they're not normal sleeping behaviors.
Okay.
So back in the day, so sleep paralysis is when you are in REM sleep, which is the deepest level of sleep you can be in, and then you jolt yourself awake. You're conscious, but your body's frozen. You can't move, you can't talk,
Yeah,
you
it
can't
takes a
scream.
couple minutes.
It's basically like you're asleep, but awake.
Yeah.
And in sleep paralysis, there's vivid hallucinations that take shape and appear and happen. Well, they used to believe that sleep paralysis was this thing called the Old Hag. And she would come harass you at night. She would sit on your chest and she would tear at you and slap you around and scream at you and just tear you up pretty good. And that's how sleep paralysis was identified before modern medical science.
And that became an urban legend, even though it
Yeah.
was some sort of a scientific basis.
There's still people that believe that sleep paralysis isn't exactly a parasomnia, but in that level of REM sleep that you're in, that you can actually see across the veil.
Yeah.
Because there's so many cool things. If you look into things like sleep paralysis and some of the visions and the hallucinations people have when they're when they're having sleep paralysis, the most common is black shadow figures sitting in the room. That will either get close or get further away or get close. There's another one that's called the Hat Man, and it's a black silhouette of a tall man, about as tall as yourself actually, wearing a long brimmed hat. There's been people that have had things right there in their faces screaming at them, and they can't do anything about it. The most terrifying sleep paralysis story I ever heard was a gentleman he was sleeping on his left side. And most people can, let me preface this by saying that most people can tell when they're having sleep paralysis. Like you're aware of what's happening. You know that you're in sleep paralysis. You know your body's paralyzed, so you're not dreaming.
Okay.
He's laying on his left side, and oh god, I just get goosebumps because when I read the story, it was just terrifying. He's laying on his left side, and he registers he's having sleep paralysis. So he's trying to calm himself down to be able to snap out of it, gain control of his body, and be able to function.
Okay.
He feels something, so he's on his left side. He feels something on the far side of his bed sit down. Now he's sleep paralysis, so he can't turn and see what it is. Then he feels the covers lift up. And then he feels something scoot next to him. And then he feels what he described as a bony arm reach across his midsection and hold him. And at this point in the story, this guy's writing how terrified he is. Like, I mean, he's like, if I had to control myself, I'd pee. Like, I mean, that's how afraid he was. And then this thing whispered to him, it's not your time. Arm moved, blanket lifted, felt the lift of the bed, blanket laid back down, and he was out of sleep paralysis.
That's like that whole Grim Reaper with the wedding dress.
Well, his story was he thought that he was literally what was it, spooned by death? I think was what the article was called.
Spooned by death.
Spooned by death.
And they wonder why people look at him like he's crazy.
Well, I think you have to take and have some kind of a comedic light on that.
You got to.
Because if you like
Grim
live
Reaper
like
in a
that,
wedding dress, that's just funny.
I still think it's you.
Me?
I'm still pretty sure it's you.
Sometimes I get bored.
I know.
It happens.
But yeah, I mean, parasomnias are one of the most terrifying things out there, and sleep paralysis being one of them is. I've never experienced it, and I hope I never do. But it's one of the most terrifying experiences you can possibly have in your life.
Yeah, and I've experienced it at times when you wake up from a scary dream, and you don't have control, but you are kind of awake.
Right.
And it's almost like you've heard something in the house, and you have to get up and check, but you can't, because you're still kind of waking up, even though your eyes popped open first, and you're starting to register things. That's happened before. And you feel like you have to get up, but you can't.
Right.
I've never been spooned.
Never been spooned by death?
No. That's because I took back the key to my house from you.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I would still continue to spoon you to this day, but hey, take away my fun time.
Yeah.
So back to the urban legend thing. I mean, I think that's one of the really cool parts of what we do is that how many cool urban legends we've heard. I mean, over my 11 years, we've heard so many. I mean, here locally, the Lafayette Witch is a huge urban legend. And that's the fact that this witch was hung in Lafayette. She cursed town to burn down 3 times. It's burned down twice. She haunts the cemetery where she's buried. I mean, we went through and proved the majority of that wrong. But it's still cool to have these urban legends that stick. Like one of the coolest urban legends actually comes off of Highway 101 on the coast.
Okay.
Bandage Man.
Never heard of Bandage Man.
So Bandage Man is supposedly an old logger that got all kinds of messed up and was bandaged back together and now haunts Highway 101. He jumps into the back of open-top cars or trucks when kids are on 101 making out. Always leaves behind a small piece of his bandage that smells like rotting flesh. He's just one of those typical 1980s killers that doesn't like premarital sex.
And that's what they think the premise is, that he's there to
No, he's just there to
protect
terrorize.
virtue.
He's just there to terrorize.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard a couple times that virtue, was what he was trying to protect, but
Yeah.
I've also heard that he eats human flesh, so it kind of just
Yikes.
goes both ways.
So why do you think that urban legends have been so prevalent for so long in our society?
Because like we talked about in one of the previous episodes, I think people have to believe that there's more to life than this.
Yeah.
I think people have to believe that there's something out there. I think that people that want to believe that there's more.
Yeah.
So urban legends are a good outlet and a good way to be like, okay, this happened 800 years ago, 500 years ago, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's a way for them to be able to say, okay, the mundane life that they live is not exactly that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, becoming so desensitized to the things that we experience daily, they're not as freaky as they used to be.
Well, I mean, think about it like this. When we first started ghost hunting,
Uh-huh.
we would get freaked out. Like we would be scared, scared. Fast forward 11 years, there's nowhere you could put me that I'm going to be terrified.
Yeah.
Because I'm so desensitized to all this, because I've lived in the dark for the last decade, that nothing really causes me
bother
that
as
fear.
much, so it's not as freaky. And, growing up, we didn't have as much exposure to things like this. We didn't have the internet to, read up, especially my age group. I didn't have a computer till college. So, I mean, learning all of those things and reading about it on the internet was something, a kid would bring it up at a campfire story and it would just freak everybody because that was something we were just not used to hearing or seeing.
And that's the scary thing about the world nowadays is that the internet, you can share anything at any point. But I think that's another topic for another day.
So you think urban legends help or hinder in the area of things that we're trying to accomplish?
A little bit of both. I think they help propel people into the field, but I think they hinder as far as people believing too much into them.
Yeah.
So.
Realizing that it's just a farce and kind of bringing a joke about it.
Right.
All right. So urban legends, as always, I'm Big Tony.
I'm Chris.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Abnormality. As always, I'm your co-host for tonight's episode. And as always, my partners in crime.
Chris.
Kent.
Chris. Kent. That's kind of boring, you guys.
The founders.
The founders.
We are the.
Sorry. I should have done it a little better.
Is that like our tag team name?
I'm Tony, the host of Abnormalities, the personality behind the name.
The personality,
Chris.
says the old guy. Is his walker, can we see his walker on screen or is it still off screen?
I'll
It's
jump up
off
right
screen.
now. Let's have a vote. Let's have people write in who looks older. I don't know. Kent's looking rough. Selling TVs has not been kind.
I sell couches.
Oh, couches. You were loaning a TV the other day. I'm so confused right now.
I do it all. Anyways.
You do it all.
I'm
It's
the man.
aging you rapidly. I love you.
I
but
agree with that though.
No,
Seriously?
that's the 6 kids.
6 kids.
No, that's no joke either.
Well, apparently, we know he doesn't have much free time.
Right?
Well, I mean, because you're raising the kids. That's
Right.
exactly what I meant. So this episode, we're going to be talking about Chris.
We're going to be talking about me.
We are going to be talking about Chris.
We're going to talk about a pretty popular subject nowadays, which is going to
Yeah.
be the influence of, I guess, religion and demons in pop culture.
Religion and demons in pop culture.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to talk about religion.
Well, it's not necessarily religion, but demons are more of a religious title than anything else.
Okay.
Nowadays, in ghost hunting, we call them not living entities that have never lived.
Okay.
So, the undead, or the dead. Are you going to really
Pinky's
hold
fair.
hands?
We are really going to hold hands.
That's kind of
It
awesome.
just felt right.
Anyways,
So-
demon hunts nowadays are called non-human investigations.
Let me stop you for just a second, because to me that seems very flawed. Demon hunts. That just seems stupid.
It really is when you think about it, because
Because you hear stories about, well, even you talk about you had like scratches on your back and something coming after you, and you're going to purposely go out and hunt. I mean, that's like, we've got like a class 5 tornado rolling through town. Let's drive after it and take a picture.
we probably wouldn't do that.
I'll be the host from the studio. Y'all have fun. Go out there and just, it just doesn't make
I
sense
guess
to
I
me.
wonder who has the bigger grapefruits now.
You'll see Chris with
The
a
guy
lasso.
with, not the guy with the personality that runs it.
Wait,
Oh.
you're right. I have personality. I wrote it. Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah, okay, we'll see.
Anyway, so
Welcome to Abnormality. So, what are we talking about? You're going to chase demons. You're going to go on a demon hunt.
no.
Absolutely makes no sense to me.
When you get called in to a particular investigation, you go in there and you have claims of activity that are inhuman or demonic. That's when you have to kind of reevaluate what you're doing. A lot of crews nowadays will go out there with purpose and intent to find a demonic hunt. For what reasons? I don't know. I don't
And
know.
that's like a provoking thing because they think it sells TV.
It's thrill
But why would you want to provoke? So I mean, that's the thing. Is people
But
have
that's
been-
what they do. I
People
mean,
have been in the presence of evil in their lives. You've been in the presence of evil. Kent has. I have. We've all been in the presence of evil.
and I've learned to overlook your
But when,
shortcomings.
but when you're in the presence of pure evil,
Yeah.
something that was designed to be evil, not something that has the internal struggles of good and bad every day, like the majority of us do. Something that is, for all intents and purposes, purely negative energy.
Okay.
That is it. To go in there with your flag held high saying, I'm going to fight this thing, you're dumb.
Yeah.
You are seriously dumb.
So why do you think that's, I mean, that's even a thing we talk about, demon hunting. Why would you?
Well, see, the reason why I brought demon up is because in investigations nowadays, like I said, and you totally took us out of context, which is kind of a big Tony move. Anyway, when we first started, when you
Oh,
walk-
that was an insult. I finally got it. It came through. I
yeah.
got it.
so
You've been reading and studying, haven't you?
a little bit.
Excellent.
Yeah, I read the insults you told me to tell you.
When you
So.
can snatch the stone from my hand, it will be time for you to leave. Outstanding.
But when we first started, those negative energy haunts were called demonic haunts.
Uh-huh.
Now we call them inhuman haunts for a couple reasons. One, demon is religious. Well, it's actually Latin for wise, but being a demon is more of a religious term.
Okay.
And not only Christians and Catholics and all those aren't the only ones that are influenced by negative energy in their home. So to say it's a demon is kind of an unfair classification because it doesn't mean just one particular entity. It means negative energy. So an inhuman haunt, in theory, is something that's never been alive, that was made of pure negative energy, pure evil, if you will. And why people, again, want to go and find that, I don't know. I've had my fair share of encounters with said things, and they're not something that you want to go and play with. I mean,
Yeah.
Kent, what do you think?
You shouldn't go chasing them. I mean, that's
Yeah.
dumb.
Well, obviously, the terminology exists, demon hunting, which makes absolutely zero sense to me.
There are people that will only take clients if it's demonic-like activity.
It's thrill seeking. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
the
they're
best way-
looking to go toe to toe with something that could very easily injure life just by snapping its fingers,
Yeah.
and it would laugh about it.
if it actually has fingers and not hooves. Hooves.
The way I look
Hooves?
at it is
Hooves.
demon hunting is a lot like the
I got
guy
me some
that
who's?
yeah,
Hooves.
the guy that goes out to Africa to hunt a lion. That's just you're
That
dumb
makes no sense. Yeah.
with a pocket knife.
But you also have to remember
With the
that
pocket
you have to remember the reason why a lot of this happens and takes place is because of the influence of
The media.
the demonic everything that's out there in the media, in music, in TV. I mean, everywhere there's some kind
And
of
movies. I mean, movies are all over the place where you're
Yeah.
talking about demons and, you know, your Constantines, your Stigmatas, and it's got that religious undertone, but yet it's religious, but it's about fighting demons and evil things.
Which
that
has
are-
made the whole demonic thing more mainstream, and and you can see it in like our casework. When we first started, you would have the ghost of mom or the ghost of dad or the little girl from the cemetery or whatever have you. There'd be this difference and stuff. Now, just about every time we sign a residence, it's because of demonic like activity.
Is that kind of an umbrella term for just anything that's of a negative sort?
So there's two types of hauntings. There's a poltergeist haunting and there's a demonic haunting. And the difference between both of those, outside of the fact of the whole pure evil thing, a demonic haunting is violent, as where a poltergeist haunting is malevolent.
So that's where you're talking about coming after you, scratching you,
Throwing you on the ground.
manifesting itself in such a way that it means to cause harm.
Yes.
It
To
is
not just person, but property as well.
Is that anything that's documented of severe injuries or death?
There's,
that
only,
you're
been,
dealing
there's
with?
only been one case in the United States since the United States was founded of any supernatural related death, and that's the Bell Witch.
Okay.
That's the only time that a ghost has ever been listed as the cause of death.
Well, it's probably
So-
because people go in there just feeling hardcore Rambo style, and probably things start firing up, and they're out.
Right.
That's probably why.
Well, you've got a large variety and essentially a Catholic army of exorcists that go out every year doing this stuff, battling, these forces of the dark.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something?
No, it's just like, the movies on demons. It always shows the heavy emphasis on specific demons. We don't know how many demons there are out there, but they always focus on these key names, and then it always shows in TV or movies that they're praying in the house, and they're trying to get rid of this evil spirit. Well, if this thing is pure evil, it was created with the intent of hurting mankind. You praying religious undertones to it, what's that going to do to it?
In that, you have to remember, this falls in a religious context. Lucifer fell from heaven because he would not bow before man. He didn't like the new baby. When he fell from heaven, 1/3 of the heavenly host, so however many angels there were, 1/3 of that entire community fell with him.
Right.
And these are all things that were following Lucifer because they didn't want to bow before man. They did not like man. They thought man was flawed. They thought man would cause havoc and do all the stuff that we've done. They assumed.
So that has that whole religious undertone, but what do you do about this portion of society that aren't Christians, that don't believe in creation?
That's why, again, that's why the term was changed. That's why when people are like, oh, we think we have a demon, no, you might have an inhuman haunt.
Okay.
Something that's never been alive, something that was derived out of pure evil or pure negative energy. The thing that, and it varies with every team and every investigator. The way I look at things is simple. There's three things. There's positive energy, there's neutral energy, and there's negative energy, right? So whatever's in your home is going to be manifested by one of these particular forms of energy, correct?
Okay.
I believe that you can have a blank, like a neutral bit of energy, and that can be influenced by the surroundings and take on, again, a life of its own. Kind of like the Tulpa thing we talked about a couple episodes ago. That it's a build-your-own poltergeist, essentially, that can have, semi-demonic ramifications because of the violence or the anger or the animosity that's in the air.
Yeah. And you've got people out there hunting because they watch these movies and they think it looks so cool. And, it's just a movie, it's not real, but we're going to go out and just kind of stir this thing up.
Right.
And it's kind of like what you guys were also discussing about on earlier, about Slender Man.
Yeah.
They say that he's half demon, half man,
Yeah.
but nobody's really ever
No one's ever really sure because those who
see him
if it's real, see him
disappear.
are
Yeah,
deuces, they're out.
exactly. So these things are out there. We know they're out there. Negative energy's out there.
Oh yeah, you can feel
Well,
it.
and then the whole half angel or demon, half man thing, that predates again. That's in the Nephilim in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
When angels laid with human women, they created the Nephilim, which were giants.
Yeah.
So it's not too far to
It's me.
know they were
Giant.
prettier than you.
Oh, I don't think that's possible.
Oh, it was.
I've seen the pictures. It just wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't get it. So I'm going to be in here in the studio a lot. You guys are going to be out ghost hunting. You plan on doing some demon hunts, inhuman hunts?
If a client needs our help, we will do what we can.
Okay.
We don't do what we used to do. We don't.
Because you kind of have a history of a little bit of provoking
Yeah.
in your younger days. You like to
And
go out
that's
there
because of some of the things that I was able to do as a teenager allowed me the right to be able to provoke because I could in turn do what I had to do to remove.
Okay. What's changed?
I don't do that anymore.
Common sense.
Common
It's
sense.
not even common sense. I just don't. After a couple instances where things were stuff I don't want to discuss. Just things that went bad. It led me to not wanting to even involve
Things you
myself.
can't discuss.
Things I don't want to discuss.
Okay. You're among friends. I couldn't help but notice your pain. Share it with me.
Can you Superman punch him?
No.
Are you scared of him?
No, I don't think
No.
it's a scared thing. It's just that's not good TV. Violence does not sell.
Have you
No,
watched
but
wrestling?
it gets the
Don't
point
let the
across.
smile fool you. I will jump over this chair.
Bring it.
Bring it. So, no demonic hunts. You're not willing to share with us any.
I don't want to share
Things-
any of the stuff that changed my mind in doing so, but I can share some of the things that I've seen if that's what you're
So,
after.
what kind of things have you seen on these demonic hunts?
I have seen.
Because I'm a friendly guy. When I go out with you guys on hunts, I don't ever get that negative energy type feel. To me, it's always kind of a friendly atmosphere, like a curiosity more than anything.
And trust me, your rose-colored glasses will fall off at some point.
You will feel it when
Yeah.
when that
That's
Change.
Well, I
that's-
did. I felt it. We were hanging out a couple years ago at Blue Willow. I met this guy, and I was like, my glasses fell off. I was like, oh, that's just pure evil. But I'm intrigued. Let's figure it out.
That's kind of my story, though. That's for another day. Anyway, I've seen things that are just pretty terrifying. I mean, I've seen children contorting in ways that are insane. I've heard,
Real
people-
children,
real children,
or pictures of, or
Real.
images of.
real there in the moment watching it happen.
Yeah.
So, I've seen a lot of things that are just terrifying as far as inhuman haunts go. That led me to take a sabbatical from that particular way of life.
Yeah. But don't you think that could be also used as a learning tool of people of don't be stupid? And in thus
Okay, so
put
you
kind
know
of a
what- you know
closure
what?
on you?
I'll close the segment down by saying this. Not even half, 75% of the people that are involved in a demonic haunt or a inhuman haunt are people that brought it on themselves, i.e. Ouija boards, i.e. summoning rituals, i.e. messing with black magic and not knowing what they're doing, voodoo, hoodoo, all this different kind of stuff.
Hoodoo.
Most people, it's what started voodoo. It was,
Oh, I'm thinking like skiing.
no,
Hoodoo bowl.
hoodoo's
No.
Haitian.
okay.
It's Haitian voodoo that then went to Louisiana and
it.
became voodoo. Yeah.
Okay.
So people bring this stuff on themselves. And it got to a point with me where I was sick and tired of saving people from the badness they brought on themselves.
Natural selection. Take care of it and let them do it.
Well, the
Essentially,
thing
yes.
is what's the point in saving if you do save them, they're going to go right back to it.
Yeah. That thrill. It's
Some
thrill,
can't be saved.
thrill seeker.
Yeah.
Go for that adrenaline pump.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anything you want to close with?
Don't be dumb.
Be careful.
Exactly. Just if you bring it in, just know that good
High
luck
five.
getting out.
Don't be dumb.
Good luck getting rid of it once you.
That was a really weird moment. That was kind of awkward. We can always edit that out, right?
Well, all I'm saying is, if you bring it upon yourself, don't come crying for help because there's nothing we can do if you brought it into you.
Yeah, that's on you. All right.
We'll come in and help you deal with it.
Within reason.
Okay. As always, Big Tony,
Chris?
Can't.
you guys have a great night. We'll see you next time on Abnormality.